Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. Voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Open borders, shameful abandonment, disregard for human life, the prospect of more mandates and lockdowns, and the list goes on. Now more than ever, we need to stick together. voting alone is not enough. We must use our dollars to support like-minded companies that fight for our rights and beliefs. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. Last year, we gave more than $500,000 to conservative causes. With your support, we'll give more than $1.5 million this year. It's time to band together and support companies that truly love America and fight for our freedoms. Will you join us?
It's Kentucky's Voice Radio, covering the latest state and local issues with Tom Fallbush, Bob Scott, and Jim Waters.
All right, welcome to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, and we have a full show, full lineup. And as I am adjusting my earpiece, because I hate to see that little wire hanging out behind me, so I'm just going to figure this out. But anyway, welcome to the show today. We have, of course, myself, Tom Fallbush. We also have my co-host, Bob Scott. And we have a new co-host, Debbie Robbins. Debbie Robbins, who was a big hit last week. So everybody said, bring Debbie back. I said, well, we're going to bring her back today. So we brought Debbie back. And so, and we're going to talk about everything that's going on right now, which is like, I don't know, Second American Civil War. I don't know what else is going on. I don't know. But is it? I don't know. Maybe we're going there. Maybe we're not. But we're certainly in a period of civil strife, and it boils down to just the issue of immigration, right? And so, should have put your phone on stun when you go on air, Tom. So, phone is now on silent. So, so immigration, guys. This seems to be the key issue. And you look at any sort of poll of what the most important issues are in America right now, and immigration is number one. And if you look at from a conservative perspective, we understand that if we do not get this addressed, then the country is probably going to be changed permanently politically, because if the Democrats get their way and these 20 million people either are allowed to stay or even, God forbid, become citizens, it will tilt the political balance so dramatically to the left that Republicans will be out of power forever, right? And so, at least for generations. And so we know this is an existential moment. It's an existential issue. If we don't get get this deportation effort really underway and on all levels, beyond just the policing side of it. That's been the most dramatic feature of it here lately. It's just the ICE and all this. But even down to let's just self-deport. Let's just change the rules so where people just can't live here as easily if they're illegal. And just we need to get those efforts moving as well. But anyway, Bob, let me bring you in. I know we're going to get into a lot of clips here later in this next segment, but. But does it feel like we're kind of in an existential moment right now with this issue? Is this
1,000%? We have reached a turning point, for good or bad. Folks, if you haven't realized or figured it out yet, we are right in the middle of what is called a color revolution. We have talked about it many times on this country, but it has been employed, and I'll say it even by our own CIA in other countries to bring down sitting governments there. And guess what? They're trying to do it to our government in this country simply because they don't like Donald Trump. But it's a lot deeper than that. It's been going on, and the movement in this direction has been going on even before Donald Trump got elected president. But they know, and they're shaking in their boots that he's about to bring this to an end by God's grace.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And of course, the term color revolution, if you haven't heard of that, it basically is it's a technique that Bob alluded to that really we came up with. The U.S. government, the CIA came up with this concept of, hey, there's probably a better way to overthrow dictatorships or authoritarian regimes. Instead of using hard power, kinetic power, military power, we can probably get in there and use some techniques to get them out of power. And it's a whole series of events that you orchestrate in a country, and it's happened several times. One of the best examples is what happened in Ukraine in 2014, the Maidan Revolution, the Orange Revolution. Well, that was a U.S. orchestrated revolution that overthrew the elected president of Ukraine, which was at the time very pro-Russian. And of course, the West and the Obama administration, they wanted to install something more pro Western. And so we instituted this revolution. It started off with lots of riots and dramatic, moments and protest and escalated, and basically it turns it. What happens is it basically makes the country or the government illegitimate. They created a sense of illegitimacy for the ruling government, and then it falls. So it's like start with riots, start with protests, turns to illegitimacy, and then it falls. That's what they're trying to do to us in this country. We're going to talk more about that after this segment, and we'll bring in Debbie Robbins on this topic as well. So we're talking immigration today here on Kentucky's Voice, how it impacts our country, how it impacts Kentucky, and how it impacts you here on Kentucky's Voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and we're talking immigration. We're talking the enforcement of immigration, the deportation effort. And Bob, I'm going to bring in my guest, Bob. Oh, before we do that, I want to remind you, we want to hear your thoughts on this. This is a community we're creating with this program. Kentucky's Voice is all about your voice as much as our voice. So we want to hear what you have to say. So text us at 502-571-0970, 502-571-0970. What do you think the Trump administration should be doing right now? Are they doing a good job? Did they falter? Did they kind of back down a little bit in Minnesota? People are claiming that, and some people are saying he's playing 4D chess and he outmaneuvered the Waltz and all the others up there. Who knows? But love to hear your thoughts on that. So 571-0970. And so, Bob, we were, I wanted to get your thoughts on this in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As he said in this press conference this morning, he's not backing down. And Trump's not backing down. I don't think any of us should be surprised by that. They're going to go after first and foremost the criminal. Well, first of all, let me back up myself, because I fall into this mistake as well.
Exactly. It's an easy rhetorical mistake to make. The criminal aliens versus
they're all illegal.
They're all criminal aliens. That's right. That's right.
Aliens that are in our country right now, and therefore breaking the federal law of our land.
That's right.
There is nothing to be doubted about that. Now, you have some that have actually broken other laws in our country, such as murder, such as rape, such as theft, child
molestation. Child molesters.
There's a different level. I will grant you that. So he's going after right now the worst of the worst,
right.
In Minneapolis. And very importantly, the leadership if you want to call it that, in Minnesota, Governor Waltz and Mayor Jacob Fry in Minneapolis, where all this is springing forward. And by the way, guess where Antifa was originally founded? Yep, you guessed it. It was in Minneapolis. That's where it rolled out. Big surprise there.
Yeah,
and we have a clip later in the show too, because I know we got some great clips. But later in the show, I'd like to play a clip by a University of Minnesota teacher talking about that they want to actually take down the United States of America. But anyway, I get ahead of myself.
Yeah,
Let's
there's
go
something
to
about
court.
there's something in the water up there. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a Scandinavian, thing. Because a lot of the Scandinavian countries are very left of center, and maybe we've got a lot of Scandinavian immigrants, and that's one theory I've heard. But people call Minneapolis like the San Francisco of the Midwest, but there has been a very strong left wing instinct in that city for, decades. It goes way back to like the Depression era, even so. But anyway, something's strange up there, and it's not good for the country right now. I'm going to bring in Debbie Robbins real quick. So Debbie, just generally, obviously, do you feel like this is an existential moment for the country and the immigration issue, just how it's handled, and it seems like,
if you want the truth from me, I think it's been an existential moment since the year 2000.
yeah,
The hanging Chads in Florida, where I think the Venezuelan, our CIA, who had influence on elections in Venezuela to get rid of criminal people, but they started using those same tactics here, with our voting machines, et cetera.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I saw the press conference this morning live. We are so blessed to have Tom Homan. Oh my goodness, he's been there for 3 days. He's so calm, level-headed, firm, reminds us of the strength of our president, of the strength of resolve that he has, and that he does hear us, and that they are going to uphold the law. And anyone that's had the privilege of traveling outside of this country, of which I did in my young life, especially for years, when you come home, when you go somewhere else and you come home, you know what a treasure it is to be an American.
Yeah.
And I'm just sick. I am sick to death of people disobeying the law.
Yeah,
and it's time that we stand up. And I'm so thankful for him. And I'm excited that we have some clips of him today.
Yeah, I was going to go, since you brought him up, I was going to play those now. I want to get your thoughts after this. So go, let's play. We got a clip from Tom Homan's press conference this morning on on all things Minneapolis. So let's go to the first clip.
I also want to remember the politicians are continually attacking us. Where were they the last 4 years when the number of women and children sex trafficking went all-time high? Where were they when 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across the border? Where were they when women and children are dying making that journey? Where were they where over 4,000 families making that journey died, historic record? Where were they? Not a word. Now we're just trying to respond to what happened the last 4 years and keeping this country safe. And we're arresting a lot of public safety threats, take them off the streets, which make this country safer. President Trump promised to make this country safe again, and that's what we're doing. I want to be clear. I don't read a lot of social media. I don't read a lot of media. I don't believe half what I see. We are not surrendering the president's mission in immigration enforcement. Let's make that clear. Prioritization of criminal aliens doesn't mean that we forget about everybody else. That's just simply ridiculous. But when you have a criminal standing here and a non-criminal standing there, that criminal always should be targeted first because he's a significant concern to the safety and security of the community. By and large, for decades, ICE and CBP have carried out their duties with integrity, professionalism, and compassion. That remains the expectation of President Trump, and I will, hold our agents and officers to that standard.
All right. Well, it doesn't look like he's backing down, Debbie. It looks like he's definitely committed, and the administration is committed to the mission of deportation and immigration enforcement. And Debbie, let me ask you this. A lot of people are upset about what happened with this shooting with that Preddy character, the fellow that, I don't know, I want to call him a terrorist or insurgent or whatever. He was just somebody that was really unstable, unhinged, and we're going to play some video of some behavior that he had with the ICE officers a few days prior to the shooting, which really shows his mindset. He's actually attacking these guys, kicking their vehicles, spitting on them. This guy was really unhinged, and his family knew this, right? So, but let's play this game for a second. Even if the police were totally wrong, and this is just a bad shoot, and they just mishandled this, and what does that have to do with immigration enforcement? At the end of the day, immigration enforcement still needs to occur. The mission is still a righteous mission, needs to occur. Maybe there was I'm just for discussion. I'm maybe granting that there might be an error, and we all agree it was a tragedy. There's probably some issues there, but regardless,
I'm mystified that we live in a time where Parents, it has to go back to parenting. It has to go back to families where you haven't taught your children to respect authority.
Yeah.
If you haven't taught them biblical principles, if this is a conservative Christian viewpoint show, I've been very disturbed over Christians who cannot see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
While I am
That's
so
right.
sickened over this guy being killed, who in their right mind shows up to a quote peaceful protest with a loaded 9mm gun and extra ammunition if you don't have other things on your mind? You cannot disobey the law. And that was so great. Tom Holman this morning, if you haven't seen his, people that are listening, if you have not seen this press conference, it is one worthy of your time because he lays it out specifically. He reminds us of that we are a nation of laws. We cannot make it if we're not a nation of laws.
That's right.
And I think about even Moses, holding the stick up, and Israelis dying, or not Israelis, but enemies dying, children, because he had raised the stick up. It's the same here. We have to follow the law.
Yeah.
And this young guy, and people rush to judgment. They don't wait for facts. And when the facts are coming out, and boy, they've been pouring out, like you said, finding even video. I saw a video this morning of him a week ago attacking a car, an ICE car. And that is against federal law also, even though he didn't physically touch them. But he had the loaded gun on him then.
That's right.
So he had already had run-ins with them. It's really sad, but we've got to go back to our biblical principle, our Christian principles, our common sense of knowing right from wrong.
Who appears to be Alex Preddy.
Oops, sorry, I just had to clip play. Exactly.
And anyway, and
let me
that's
totally agree with you. And at the end of the day, I mean, I will say this. I mean, people do carry firearms every day.
That's fine.
And so I don't want to fault the person for carrying a firearm because I'm very pro Second Amendment and honestly, if I'm going to a protest where there might be a lot of crazy leftists, I might have a firearm with me because they're just that crazy. And so that, to me that isn't the issue. But when you start resisting arrest, like you said, when you start violating the law by impeding law enforcement and resisting arrest, and you have a firearm on you, you are just creating this very high risk situation where bad things can happen. And so now, is it? We all agree it's a tragedy. The guy shouldn't have died. When you look at the grand scheme of things, it would have been great if he was just arrested and dealt with. But when a firearm's introduced, it escalates the tension and the urgency of the issue. And actually, the police, if they hear that there's a firearm involved, and somebody yells gun, they hear a shot. The police are now, they have a duty to defend themselves and others around them. And so they're going to be that much quicker to shoot. And so you can have a bad shoot and not be prosecuted as a police officer because you might have circumstances where it was reasonable to do so. So I think that's what we're going to find. This is going to be a reasonable shooting, even though it was tragic that the guy was shot. So anyway, I'm going to mention more on the law here in a minute. We'll be right back. Thanks.
Are you ready to stand for truth? Kentucky is at a crossroads, and we need voices that won't back down. This is your moment to rise, speak up, and be part of a movement that's changing the narrative in the Commonwealth. Kentucky's Voice is calling on bold citizen journalists, fearless editors, and those unafraid to speak truth in the public square. Volunteer, intern, contribute. Scan the QR code or visit kyvoice.org to join the fight. This is more than media. This is your moment. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice. I'm your host today, Tom Fallbush, with my co-host, Bob Scott, and my new co-host, Debbie Robbins. And we're talking about all things immigration, Minnesota, the tragic shooting of Freddie and the other lady, and all this. And we were just talking about in the last segment about, just was this the right action with the police officers, and should they have shot this fella? That's been talked about a lot. But what's new is this new footage that's come out yesterday that's added context to Freddie's mindset of how he was approaching his protest efforts, right? And it looks like he was a little bit more than just a protester. I think he was part of this insurgency that was developing within Minnesota to interfere with ICE operations, and it was very clear he was part of this. And so I'm going to play this video real quick. I had to drop the audio because there's a lot of cussing in it, but I'm going to play this real quick, and we'll describe it as for people on the radio. So there is a Freddie. This is 11 days before he was shot. And so he was actually out on the street at another protest. There we go. You can see him now. He's kicking an ICE vehicle, kicks the taillight out of the vehicle. And as the vehicle was driving away, the ICE officers come out and they accost him. They try to arrest him. They get him on the ground. And as they're doing that, you can see a firearm, the same gun, is in his back waistband. And so we'll go back to this shot in a second. But so he was carrying the gun then. He was yelling, cussing, spitting. He just spit on an ICE officer. And there you go. He kicks the taillight out. There we go. It's just a repeat of that same video. And then, of course, they come out and they accost him. So this is the same guy. This shows his mindset. He was not just a bystander, protester, legal
anything
advisor.
But innocent.
He was a militant.
Yep.
He was a militant, and his family even was concerned about it. He quit his job apparently right before this to go be a professional full-time militant and live his little superhero fantasy and go, try to save rapists and child molesters from getting arrested. Isn't that a noble cause? Isn't that a noble cause? But anyway, we'll go back to Bob real quick. Bob, quick thoughts on that? What are your?
Yeah, my thoughts are, and there's a reason we couldn't play the audio in that is every other word was a swear word.
He's cussing his head off with these.
One of the things I have noticed about far left wackos is that they love to drop F-bombs in particular. I think that's their word of choice, and I mentioned earlier that we'll play later in the show. Hopefully we can get to it, but it's a radical far left professor at the University of Minnesota. That in her video, she's doing an open presentation to a group of people, and she starts dropping. Didn't start out that way, but she starts dropping F-bombs too. Yeah. So it is something. And here's the deal, Tom and Debbie, and for those of you who are listening or watching on TV. We right now are in the midst of a coordinated, planned effort, and something that Tom Homan he was questioned. One of the first questions that came to him, he was asked, "Is anything going to be done, or anything more with regard to the stuff, the conversations, the organizational
Signal chats
that was happening on Signal?" That's right. Mm-hmm. And he was asked that question, and he said he doesn't want to spill the beans too early. Essentially, that was music to my ears, because it is long overdue.
Yeah,
he said justice is coming, Bob.
Yes, and justice is coming, and praise God for that, because we're in the midst of a color revolution. There is an intent. Listen very carefully for those of you that are listening. Of an attempt to bring down our constitutional republic. And this is serious. And we need to be aware of it. And in fact, if you have a comment, we definitely would like to hear from you. Our phone number is 502-571-0970, 502-571-0970. You can text us your thoughts, and we'll share them on the air.
So it looks like the administration is getting serious about the counterinsurgency effort that they need to have in order to push back on the left, because the left they are viewing this as an existential fight themselves. They know this is existential. Existential, for those we use these terms. That means basically it's all stakes. We're going to live or die. If we don't win this, we're all dead. That kind of mindset. And so they see that with immigration. That's been their whole plan over the past 20, 30 years is to flood the country with illegals, prop up these blue districts with high population counts so they can get high representation in Congress, and also eventually get these people to vote or help encourage them to vote illegally, and so that they can maintain power. It's a very cynical play. And if you want to get down to some real, kind of dark ideas about it, a lot of people say this is a great replacement, theory, that they're just trying to replace historic Americans with new voters, because, and there's even a clip that came out the other day that there's some undercover reporting of this James O'Keefe. He was interviewing somebody, and I think that one of these government agencies, and the person just said that. He goes, everybody knows the Democrats are just trying to replace American voters. He said traditional American voters are not left-wing. Historically, this is more of a right-wing country, right? And so they know their plan is to import new voters, new people who are left-wing, specifically from Latin America, because Latin America typically has a different political experience, and they're a little bit more left-wing by instinct. So this is how we gain power. We just flood the country, replace Americans with new voters that vote for us.
Or we cheat, and Debbie had talked about a little bit earlier, we cheat at the polls.
And cheat at the polls as well. Exactly right.
And that's exactly what happened in 2020. We know it. The good news is that's kind of flying a little bit under the radar screen right now is they are and just launched an investigation, a deeper investigation into what happened down in Georgia. They basically went and seized records from, guess where? Fulton County, where the heart of
that's right.
And this is very critical. They are alleging, when I say they, I'm talking about a lot in the administration, and Tommy Tuberville, a United States Senator from Alabama, he's alleging, this is huge news, that there could be up to 12, if not more, currently sitting United States representatives or Senate members that were there illegally, that they should
because
not,
of voting irregularities.
Because of the voting irregularities. Wow. That's correct.
Absolutely. That is so unbelievably obvious. I've been an election officer for nearly 25 years. There are just so many thoughts going through my head as you're both speaking. It's just unbelievable to me. But also getting back to the illegals and the Democrats wanting to keep it in. Whoever all of these NGOs are, they've done a really good job of brainwashing and appealing to the emotions of Democrat leadership and bribery, giving them kickbacks.
That's right.
These people are getting our taxpayer dollars. It's also, I can't prove it yet. I don't know, but that's what we're doing investigations on, to see who's been getting kickbacks.
It's coming.
Yeah, I can't wait. But it's very sad. And because it has brainwashed the Christian community to some degree.
Yes.
We have a lot of churches that are just so brainwashed over these poor little refugees.
That's right.
Which that's not the story.
That's not exactly right.
It's really sad, but I'm thrilled for what's happening in Fulton County. I'm so people need to know the truth. We just have to keep putting it out there, because it's overwhelming. If you want the truth, it's right there in front of your face.
Yeah, if we don't have fair elections, and if we don't have confidence in our election system,
exactly,
then it's we've said this before in this program. It's either ballots or bullets. There's only two ways to settle, who controls your country. It's either ballots or bullets, and we want the ballots, right? But the ballots have to be legitimate, right? If people don't feel like that's legitimate, then they feel like, well, okay, they're stealing from us. So what do? You respond with force, and so that's where that's just not saying we're encouraging that. I'm just saying that's reality, folks. That's how important this is. We got to get our
that's
election.
what the other side's encouraging right now, Tom,
That's
by their actions that they're taking.
Exactly,
and that's where the truth is getting ready to come out,
right.
And I can't wait long.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we're at both sides see this as existential. So the question is, can we get through this crisis that I see brewing in our country and come out on the other side and still have a country left? that's a broader topic of conversation we can have later. But that's kind of where we're
Must-have
at. Both sides
election.
feel like it's everything's on the line. So okay, we'll be right back on Kentucky's Voice. We're talking about immigration and will we have a country left?
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and we want to hear your thoughts on this. We're just riffing off on a lot of topics here, and that are close to everybody's heart right now. So I'm sure if you're listening, hopefully you're getting something out of it. But we want to hear what you have to say as well. So text us at 502-571-0970, 502-571-0970. We have some texts that have come in. Bob, if you want to read one.
Yeah, good ones. In fact, usually most of the time we get the texts we get in are very good from our very educated listeners, and we thank God for them. And the first one is, do you think an on-site, this little tongue-in-cheek, an on-site social worker would have changed the outcome of the shooting?
That's
okay,
right, exactly right. We don't need police.
Little
We need
humor
social
there. That's
workers.
good.
That's right.
Good. And the next one is, the man that got shot in Minneapolis woke up that day with a premeditated intention to do harm.
Yeah, he absolutely did. Yeah, absolutely did. And everybody sees that now, especially when you see that video that we played earlier of 11 days before this. And then you hear from his family. His family was concerned about his mindset, about what he was doing. He actually quit his job to go do this full time, become this little
and that's what's concerning
insurgent
to me is a lot of these people in their mind are well-intentioned, and I'm talking about the extreme on the left that are going out and doing these rallies. They're being used. They don't even know they're being used.
That's right.
But they're being used, sadly, to go and do, basically mayhem. And they honestly, I'll say it, the leadership behind it probably in all likelihood rejoices when someone gets tragically killed like this, because it becomes a focal point that they can start building and developing a deeper story around that, how they were abused and they were murdered in cold blood.
That's right.
And let me tell you, it's with George Floyd and what we just saw over the last week, these things work. And even some of my friends, conservative friends, have been upset about it. And none of us are happy about the shooting. Not one of us.
Right.
And that tragically someone lost their life, but we are seeing that people were putting themselves in a position where that something like that, the mayhem could happen, and someone could die.
Exactly right. Yeah. And this is just a technique. You and I've talked about this earlier, the color revolution thing. To your point, the leaders of the left, the people that are orchestrating this stuff, they use these folks as useful idiots. Because
100%.
Now, the useful idiots truly believe that they're fighting fascism. They think they're
Yes.
fighting Nazis.
Yes.
They're true believers, but they've swallowed this
Nazis,
worldview.
fascists, yes.
That's right. They swallow this worldview that motivates them, that is just so out of kilter with reality. But they still believe it, and so there's a term of the communists used to call a lot of these left wing progressives in the U.S. useful idiots. And they would just laugh at them because they knew that they were, once we really take control, you're dead anyway, because you right. Still like a little bit of freedom. But anyway,
it's absolutely devastating. It breaks my heart. Yeah. I worry about our youth of today. They are just absolutely bombarded every single minute, and just working people that really want to do the right thing. They really are trying to make good decisions, but they've fallen prey to, my sister pointed out to me the word programming. I mean, you're both in media, and we always talk about programming. Well, you know what? Sadly, we've been programming brains for 60 years, and we have to just work overtime and pray like there's no tomorrow to give out accurate information, get people involved on the local level. I've always heard politics it's like this. On the local level, you vote the man. On the state level, you vote the issues. On the national level, you vote the philosophy. If you do not get the right man at the local level, you're going to have what we have today. Total mayhem, total insanity, people that do not have common sense, people that should have never been in public office, getting into public office, and then you can hardly get them out because we've allowed our system to be overrun, and now it's crooked. Goodness, we have our work cut out for us, but I do believe in the power of prayer, and I do believe in the power of people and determination, and it's up to us to do it on the local level.
Let me put an exclamation point on what you just said, and I'm going to play this clip. And this is what happens when we vote for the wrong people on the local level. So, Mr. Producer.
What are you going to do if and when a massive ICE operation is launched in Kentucky?
Well, the first thing we have to do is demand that they pull these officers out of all of our cities and that they fully retrain every single one of them. They are operating with aggressive tactics that are not appropriate for law enforcement. They are not following our Constitution.
Now, this is coming from a man, folks, who sent state police to take down the license plates of Christians going to church on Easter Sunday.
Exactly.
You're talking about abusing police powers, abusing the authoritarian tactics, Mr. Governor. And so, to your point, it's the man. We got to pay attention to who we're voting for and philosophy as well. But this is who we. Any thoughts?
Absolutely. And also, I'm sorry to interrupt there,
Please.
but I want the media person to follow up and say, Mr. Governor, would you mind pointing out which procedures that you don't like that these ICE officers do? I didn't know he was an expert on ICE or their training.
That's right.
That they just let these people get by with these flippant remarks without ever making them have to answer for it. Back it up.
Yeah.
Tell me what you mean. It's like kids when you're a parent, they want to know the moral reason why.
Right.
Give me the moral reason why, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. You're just running your mouth. And it's not right.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and so Bob, we've got this situation where we have law enforcement trying to enforce the law, and the immigration law. We are a country of laws. We don't have if we're not a country of laws, then we're a country of just powerful men and just it's force. It's either law.
That's right.
It's either power of law, power of the gun. So at the end of the day, we have to line up with. Because sometimes it's appropriate. I guess what I'm getting, it's appropriate to fight against the law if it's an unjust law, right? Just because something's a law doesn't mean it's just, right? So a law has to line up with the Judeo-Christian worldview, right? And also, so it's appropriate to fight against unjust. If I was in Nazi Germany and they were about to lock up my Jewish neighbor, that was the law. But guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go over there and get my whatever gun I'm allowed to have, and I'm going to fight that, And so that's just. But so the laws that are trying to be enforced right now are just laws. So people have no right to do this. And so that's really at the core of the issue. That's what they're claiming. They're saying this is unjust. Well, why is it unjust? It's because it's you didn't get enough voting power to get your law put in. That's one issue. But secondly, is deportation or immigration law just immoral by nature because you don't believe in borders? You know what? So it's just so many layers there. So go ahead.
And thank you, Tom. It's unjust because President Trump is square over the target, and he's doing something about it and trying to enforce it. Now, let's back up. Let's look what President Obama did. He became known affectionately as, at least by those that support him in the media, as the deporter in chief during his presidency, in which he deported, now get this, over 3 million people.
Yes.
Obama did. He even gave Tom Homan a special medal, for who was the ICE chief under Obama for his efforts, And it wasn't just him talking about it. We've played clips on this program before where President Bill Clinton did the same thing. We had Hillary Clinton saying the same thing, that illegals have no place in our country, and it's not that we don't care about people, but again, I keep circling back and saying, what is so difficult to understand about the word illegal?
That's right.
That's my question.
That's right.
If you're illegal, you're illegal, and you need to come in here. And by the way, I have several friends, including my son's basically friend that is in the process, and they came from Cuba. They also from other parts of South America. Her family did, and they are in the process of and not just them, but family members went through the process,
Exactly.
to become legal,
Yeah.
and they're very much against illegal immigration.
Right. Yeah, that's right. So some of the most vociferous opponents of illegal immigration are recent immigrants. And so, and I'll say this, Debbie, there is a time and a place for immigration in this country, but America doesn't necessarily have a duty to allow people to immigrate, right? Its first duty is to its citizens, right? And so,
Right.
what are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, I forget the president which one was it? Eisenhower, Truman, that stopped immigration, so that the people that came in could assimilate.
Right.
Because regardless, I don't care that we're called a melting pot. We've developed over 250 years a culture.
Yeah.
We have a culture that we all adore. I love, I love St. Patrick's Day. I love, different things that bring up different cultures. But we have to assimilate, and the people that have been pouring in without being vetted are building their own little worlds, their own little cities, their own little places that are going to rise up. And Tom Homan also made that mention this morning of the 2 million gotaways.
Yeah.
He said we should all be shaking in our boots over the 2 million gotaways doing God knows what, and when they're going to suddenly pop out and harm us.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I gave an example to you, I think, once we were talking. I was in Colombia, South America, went for the summer with a family. I landed there and met with an AK-47 in our faces because it was election day. They do shoot and kill over it. And then the day before I left, the driver of our car of a very wealthy family was arrested. The whole story in itself is terrorizing. So when I got back to Miami, I literally kissed the ground.
Yeah.
This America is amazing, and we must preserve it. That's the bottom line.
And so many people on the left, we only have 30 seconds left, so many people on the left have this idea that we have like magic soil. So as soon as you just put your feet in this across the border, then suddenly you become an American. You behave like an American. No, if you transplant the people from that city in Colombia to America, they're still going to hold elections that way with an AK-47 because that's their mindset. So it takes a while for people to adapt and assimilate into our way of life, and so that's why assimilation is so important. And we have too much immigration, and they can't assimilate right now. So we'll be right back. One more segment on Kentucky's Voice.
Kentucky's Voice is your home for real news, real people, and real answers. But we can't do it without you. Your financial support helps us bring truth to the forefront, hold leaders accountable, and give a voice to the people of the Commonwealth. Join the fight today. Give online at kyvoice.org or text KYVoice to 53555. Every gift makes a difference. Stand with us. Speak up. Stay strong. You are Kentucky's voice.
Now, back to Kentucky's Voice Radio, online at kyvoice.org.
All right, welcome back to Kentucky's Voice, and we appreciate your text today. We have several texts that have come in, and we want to go to that. Bob, what's the text that just came in this last segment?
Yeah, some good text, and this from our text line, as Tom mentioned, is are these dangerous anti-ICE people thinking that they are mimicking the Sons of Liberty in a twisted way? I'd probably say yes. That is their thought process, because they have been brainwashed to think our country's being taken over by fascists and Nazis. And why are they thinking that? Again, because that's what the Democratic Party keeps saying over and over and over again. When in fact, the Democrat Party is all of those things. Might throw the word totalitarian in there, also throw communist, socialist, Marxist. Those are other words.
Yeah, they're really the sons of Lenin, is what they are.
Sadly describes it the current Democratic Party.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, they're really the sons of Lenin, is who they are, not the Sons of Liberty.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
A bunch of Bolsheviks. But we've got a clip of a professor up there that describes Minnesota and their kind of their political history.
It really does. This clip, we're going to play it here. She does, of course. She's a liberal professor at the University of Minnesota. Okay, educating young minds there, and hence why we wonder. There's all the craziness going on. We're going to have to kind of watch a little bit, because, as I was talking about earlier, they have a tendency to, even in public forums, just using F-bombs like they're, something that's just part of the normal language, which for them, I guess it is. But yes, Mr. Producer, if you go ahead and play that.
Of all liberation struggles and the movements that seek a world of justice, equality, and peace, that seek to dismantle the United States. I hope you seek to dismantle the United States. And if that isn't your politics, okay? I speak as if everybody has this commitment. And the thing is that you should listen to Indigenous people when they're telling you that this is the goal. And that not only is this the goal, but this is the starting point. Because I think Nick articulated this very clearly. Decolonization is the only thing that is going to save us as a species, is the only thing that's going to save us as a planet. and everyone should just be on board with it, no questions asked. And I say this sometimes on the podcast, our Red Nation podcast, I'm the co-host of Red Power Hour. You know, like, of the most oppressed ass people in Turtle Island, Indigenous women are like on the top of that fucking list. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
sorry.
Bob, we should have cleared that one.
We're going to cut her off right there,
So,
but
yeah.
I think we get the idea.
Yeah,
You know,
okay, I didn't
that
realize that was in there.
she is obviously, and did you listen very carefully? She talks about later on, they literally want to destroy America, and they want to do it from within. This is not some kind of thing that they're just a dream fairy tale thing that they're expounding on, but they want it. I guess it is a dream for them, but they really want to make this happen. That is their goal.
Yeah,
is to take down the United States as we know it.
That's right. Yeah, and she's obviously just a communist, a pure and simple communist. She's part of the Red whatever podcast. So, yeah, exactly. We've got this, and that's really what's motivating this movement now. And see, there used to be the two lefts, right? There used to be the left that was, the radical communists, the people that were a part of the communist movement in the 20s and 30s, and they went underground, and they were still part of this real radical communist, the Weather Underground, all the 60s hippies. You had that left that was just, they were red. They were just commie red. Then you had just the middle of the road Democrat, the more left-wing liberal. And, that left-wing liberal is kind of a dinosaur. They're kind of evaporating. The Democratic Party is now dominated by this far left, right? And they're pushing out all these moderate boomer, liberals. And so this is where we're at, folks. It is basically and
let me say this, Tom, real quick. To your point, they recently murdered a Democrat that had the audacity to go against the party up in Minnesota, a female. I believe she was a state senator, because she didn't vote the way that they liked it, and she and her husband, some nut job leftist, came to their house and murdered them both in cold blood. Yeah. And this was a Democrat, that happened. Right. So you have to, in Minnesota anyway, you have to toe the party line or you're out of there.
That's exactly right. So Debbie, any thoughts? I'm going to play this clip from Rand Paul here about the immigration issue as well, but any thoughts on that clip?
Just that these type of professors have no business being in front of a classroom, period.
Yeah. That's right. And these are the people you put your kids in front of when you send them to traditional, schools, state schools. They're all these universities are run by these communists. I'm going to get real, plain about it. It's just, you're sending your kid to a secular seminary, a left-wing seminary, to get indoctrinated. And so unless,
I know, I have a son in college. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
We've poured into him all we can pour.
That's right.
And we pray and pray and pray. But it's a constant dialogue with him to make sure anything that gets thrown his way, that we can debunk it.
Exactly right. It's if you have a child that's even not very strong in their beliefs, or maybe just on the fence about things, definitely don't send them away to college in that sense, because they'll come back hating you at the end of the day. I've seen this happen in my own family. You send your young daughter off to school, and they come back and, Dad, you're an oppressor. I hate you. I'm a feminist. I got blue hair now, and I like girls. And it's like, okay, what just happened? Well, I sent you to college and paid for your indoctrination to now that you hate me. It's just so tragic that we're doing this to our children. Well, let me play this clip from Rand Paul about the immigration issue we're dealing with. And so, Mr. Producer, I want to go to this.
On this, I actually think that most of the people that are here and working lawfully and can pass a background check, I would give them no welfare, and I'd give them no citizenship, no voting privileges, but you can work and we won't arrest you.
Okay, no citizenship, but a potential path to citizenship?
I think it's better just to say the trade-off is this, that you came illegally. Right now the law says you got to go back and you'll never get in, basically. So the compromise is you came in illegally, you just don't get to be a citizen, your kids will be. Now the new ones, the 8 million that might have come in last year, some of them need to go back, and particularly any of them committing crimes. The compromise I'm offering is different than anybody's ever talked about. Everybody thinks the compromise has to include voting and citizenship. If in Texas we gave amnesty and let, a couple million people vote, immediately Texas becomes Democrat for the next 20 years. So that's what it's all about. It's about voting. I think some of the best Americans just got here, frankly. They have good work ethic, they're hardworking people, they work in our fields, they pick our tomatoes, they clean fish, they work in chicken houses. They do a lot of the dirty jobs in our country are done by immigrants.
Yeah, I'm just so sick of that line of reasoning, and I'm just so fed up with Rand Paul on this issue. That is ridiculous. Oh, Americans won't do these jobs. Well, no, Mr. Senator, they won't do these jobs at the prices that these companies are willing to pay immigrants for. But you pay an American wage, they'll go cut up the chickens. They'll go to clean houses, whatever. It's so, and he acts like this is amnesty's never been thought of before. I've got this new novel idea. It's called amnesty. What? I mean,
and that's why, may I interrupt? That's why it has to go back to the local level. That's why a law like John Hodgson has proposed, that our colleague last week was saying that isn't getting heard a lot, to go after employers. Really? I'm sorry. Yes. I love I love Americans, but when greed, when you are participating in destroying your own country by hiring illegal aliens, paying them less, it's just wrong. And housing, we could go on and on and on. So from a local level, from the bottom up, we have to support the proposition for a law like John Hodgson wants to support, and make it go viral, make it go nationwide. It's touchy, and I know the president, he's doing deals with every wonderful company in the world, and who knows what kind of things they've been doing behind the scenes. But it's time for accountability. We work hard out here. My husband has worked hard his entire life. So have I. I saw my dad, entrepreneur. It's just wrong. And my child needs to learn how to go pick green beans out of a garden.
That's exactly right. That's a good point. A lot of our young people have been deprived the joy and the what's the word for it? Almost like a rite of passage of doing hard work. We basically have hired out all of our. But basically, when I was a teenager, I was the one cutting grass. I was the one, doing all the dirty jobs. Now people just hire an illegal alien to go out and do all this stuff. So, and all of our kids are just fat and happy and just totally out of touch. Can't even change. I'm hiring kids now, and they come to work and they get a flat tire on the way. They don't know how to change their tire. It's like these are grown men that don't know how to change their tire. I mean, it's just, we have a worthless young generation when it comes to just manual labor. Hey, Bob, but let me go to Bob real quick. We've only got 2 minutes left. Bob, what's your thoughts on the Rand Paul quote there? Because that's disappointing.
Again, our viewers and listeners are always coming in with great comments, and we've got a ton more that have come in since the show began. And the first one says, people like the professor have never lived, this is a great one, under a government like what they want for the United States. Very true.
Exactly.
And then another text line was, Rand Paul talks out of both sides of his mouth. He's making a fool of himself. And then they gave a phone number, reported an illegal. I'm not going to give the number because I'm sure it's a correct number, but being the fact it's live, I haven't had a chance to check it out. I'm sure it's true. But the bottom line is, we as a people are I'm hoping are waking up and starting to stand in the gap to make a difference.
And I'm to the point, Bob, where I would primary Rand Paul over this. If he doesn't like immigration, is the key issue. It solves so many problems if we get this straight. Everything from inflation,
100%.
To our schools falling apart, to our economy, to young people being able to buy a house, all these crime, political power in the country. I mean, it just solves so many issues, and for him to be wobbly on this is totally out of step with the state. And so I really, if he doesn't really start strengthening on immigration, I'm going to support an opponent. I don't care how creative he is on his libertarian ideas, and I'm glad he went after Fauci and all that. I celebrate that. But immigration is an existential issue. You got to line up with that, or else you need to be out of there. And so, but
clean and fair, free elections and illegal immigration are the two biggest issues in this country.
That's exactly
right. And people must be properly educated about it and speak up.
And don't fall.
And I'm sorry, Rand, you can't be an obstructionist anymore.
That's exactly right. You really can't. We have no time for it. And don't fall for these little propaganda battles where it feels like 2020 again, like BLM and the George Floyd thing. And people are falling for this propaganda battle that the left is using in the Minnesota situation. So don't fall for that, and know that Trump's doing the right thing. And let's support him, and let's get this job done. Deportation now. all illegal aliens are criminal illegal aliens. They all need to go. All right, it's good for them, it's good for their countries, and it's good for us. So, all right, we'll be right back tomorrow on Kentucky's Voice. Thanks for joining us.